audiences or residents and their participation at every stage of the process. So we're really looking for an artist who is engaging with residents, community members, audiences, whatever word you want to use, sort of at every step of the way. We're leaving it pretty loosey-goosey because we don't want to be prescriptive about exactly what that looks like for each of your varied mediums, because I can see, even in the folks that I recognize on this call, that we have a lot of different kinds of artists representing today. But the most important thing is that social impact artists are artists who are engaging with community members throughout the process of their project. And then what we're saying is everyday places. We have a lot of different terms that we're using to define this. We've also, you might see the words third places bandied about in the request for proposals. And that comes out of this idea that your first place is your home, your second place is your work or your school if you're a student, and the third places are these spots in the community that you really rely on in order to function in everyday life, but they're not actually, home or work. But of course, our first and second places have really condensed in this COVID times. A lot of us are working from home or taking classes from home. And so you can also think about these third places or these everyday places as essential businesses. These are businesses that are still open during the pandemic and that we still rely on. So we have a list of the participating everyday places that are, joining this project. You'll find, places from, like, we have restaurants, we have a park, we have a rec center, we have two social services organizations, we have a printing shop. It's like really all over the map. So there's a lot of opportunities to creatively engage with West Philly residents by creating a project that is in partnership with this everyday place. So what we're looking for is an artist who's going to be proposing a project that will happen in collaboration, not only with residents, but also with that place. So I encourage all of you to do some research about all the places that are listed on the website that are participating in this project, and then really, really specify your project for those places.
And we do,
Um,
and let's say you have a relationship with with a place that could be defined as a third place, and you think it would be a good site for a partnership or your work with them. We are also open to you identifying a preferred place if it is not on that list, if it is within the West Philly footprint. So you'll notice that and we'll review the list of the places that have demonstrated interest thus far, but you'll notice most of them are on and around Lancaster Avenue, as that is the CDC's target area. But we also have some places that are outside of the Lancaster Avenue corridor, but are still within the West Philadelphia boundaries. So if the place that you would desire or like to pitch for a third place is within one of the 5 zip codes, we're open to that as well.
Yeah, that was a good point, Latiana. And I think Latiana already said this, but it goes without saying again. This is West Philly. We're talking about, we categorize you all as West Philly based artists if you live or work in West Philly. So we understand that not everybody lives within the West Philly zip codes, but if they have the basis of their work and the majority of their community is in West Philly, like, we accept that. But the place definitely needs to be in West Philly. So we have 5 5 partnership opportunities in partnership with these places. One of them is virtual or hybrid. That partnership lasts the entire 6 months of the program. Our goal is to start this program April and it'll end in September. So the virtual hybrid partnership, that lasts for the full 6 months. The rest of them the expectation is that they're going to be COVID safe and physical. So this is where we're really asking for folks to be super creative about how they're going to be engaging with this site and with these communities. Because of course we still absolutely have to abide by these, the health recommendations and guidelines coming out of the city and out of the CDC. So we wouldn't recommend that you propose to do a big play within within a building. However, if you have an idea for, an interactive sculpture that can be put up outside of, a storefront, like, that's a good example of something that, as long as you demonstrate to us how this is in collaboration with the neighborhood and with this third place, then we can talk about it. The four partnerships that are not virtual or hybrid are going to be staggered throughout April through September, and they will typically last 3 months. I'm trying to think of the most important logistical details for us to talk about. This is of course a paid opportunity. The stipend is $1,500 for the length of the project with a supply budget as well. Latiana, what else should I make sure that we mentioned today?
And what you will notice that is absent from the RFP is an idea of like the type of, or the number of touch points, as far as like how many times you plan to interact, or just like us quantifying what your engagement looks like. We want you to tell us what that looks like for you. So as Tanara said, there are like, we have like some boundaries, but we want the creative license. We want you to tell us what is the best way that you believe that you should interact creatively with your neighbors, with the people that you work with, with the people that you see every day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're standing. And that what we haven't said that for me is really important is we recognize that this is a non-traditional and a unique way for artists to partner with businesses in community. So it's not going to, we don't have a model for this.
Right.
Let's say that. So it is something that we are essentially like building together. So we are flexible with how we are envisioning how this will work. And the Barnes West leadership team, we are here to provide help and support to ensure that this opportunity is going to be successful for all parties involved. That includes the artists, that includes us, and that includes the businesses or organizations that are participating.
Yeah. In terms of content, I think it's really important to mention that we're asking for projects that provide residents with an opportunity to engage in hope and healing. So, it doesn't have to be the title of your project, but we do want to see some, nod to those opportunities, because that is sort of the thematic goal of the work that we're doing in this year for Barnes West, particularly given the just like cascading losses that we have all suffered this year that have touched everybody. We want to see projects that provide opportunities for hope and healing. The projects are going to be reviewed by a panel of Barnes West team members, but also those sites, those third places that are listed on the website, they are all going to be looking at your proposals too. And so you'll notice we have a ton of places that have sort of signed on as interested in this opportunity, but only 5 partnership opportunities. And so they actually are going to have a really active hand in selecting the artists that we move forward with. And so they will be involved in the process of sort of deciding which partnerships make the most sense. So just know that it's not like a team of arts focused administrators. It's also the community members that are going to be helping pick these opportunities. I think we talked a lot. Latiana and I talked a lot. So I want to make sure that we have a chance to answer questions. And again, I will say, if there's something that you think of later, come to open office hours. That's really a space where we can go deep. But are there any questions about this project right off the bat?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What are the parameters in which we can reach out to the residents? Do you guys have an idea? I mean, I have an idea, but I didn't know if you guys would like for us to follow a certain scope.
When you say parameters, are you asking about the way in which you're going to be reaching out to residents, or the strategy?
The way that you guys would find acceptable, considering that it's COVID.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of, it's a really good question. We're expecting that everybody participating in this project is COVID safe. So, I mean, if there's any kind of outreach that you're doing where you feel really strongly that you need to be in person, then you have to make sure that masks, everybody's wearing masks, social distancing is being adhered to, so we're not trying to say that in-person things can't happen, but you need to demonstrate to us that there's really careful consideration of the health requirements. So I think the answer to your question is like, we're not prescribing a specific way that we're asking you to reach out to residents, but we are expecting that everybody is following CDC guidelines.
Okay. That was
I have
perfect.
a question.
Yes.
Hi, how's everyone doing?
Doing
I
well. It's
haven't
good to
been
see you.
connected since, I haven't been connected since we did the movie piece and we
Yes.
distributed the popcorn to people. But which was a lot of fun. And thank you for the gift card.
You are welcome.
My question, I went through the list and I'm interested for myself, but I want to share with other people. And I found out about it last night, so I wasn't able to get it to people in a way that they could join. So that was one of the reasons I asked about recording it so that I can maybe share what I can and then share that with them so that they have enough time to be able to come on Wednesday for office hours because it's that next Friday, that same week, right? That the deadline is. Am I correct?
No, I
March
think it's
4th,
the following Friday.
March
They're
5th.
due
Because I think
March
it was
5th.
the 26th. Today is the 18th. So the 24th is going to be the open hours. And then it's due on the 26th, correct?
It's not due on the 26th. It's due on March 5th.
March 5th. So y'all moved the date. The thing I had said the 26th as the deadline.
What do you have? Do you have the request for
I got an
proposals
email
document?
last night.
Who emailed you?
It came under the heading of Lola 38.
It's also on the application. It does say February 26th, which I believe is next Friday, but I did also
Right.
see on the attached document that it said March.
Wow, thank you guys for catching that.
Yeah, I think that on the RFP, it has the right date because I'm seeing March 5th on the RFP that I sent out. So it's just the application that says February,
Got it. We can change
the
that.
online one.
Yeah. So just to clarify, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's confusing. The office hours are this coming Wednesday, and then the application is due the following Friday, March 5th, not the 26th of February.
Okay, so that I didn't even know it was a conflict because I was just going to say that only gave 2 days, so that's why I wanted to.
No, I
be able to
appreciate
figure
you
out how
bringing
to
that
get
up.
the link and share it with people. But my question was, when I went through the list of businesses that is connected, from my experience in working with the two entities, you all are very, very open-ended and really don't put people into a box. So with that said, I was just trying to get an idea of what were you thinking about with regards to like the businesses and like tying the community in? Because I'm thinking just off the top, okay, I'm thinking about Silk Tank. I'm familiar with the owner, and if I was to think about doing something with her, what would that look like with regards to the community? And or I know that you said that you could go into other areas of West Philly within the zip code. So if I was thinking of Malcolm X Park or Itiola's restaurant doing something like, so I just wanted to get an idea of what the connection to the community is with regards to the business.
So the business, you can look at the business as the site for interaction. So that the business is the place in which you would essentially reach the community members. So if you felt like that your relationship was strong with the woman who owns Silk Tent, and you can see that whatever your art medium is like will fit into both the aesthetic of her business and will help you to reach community members because that feels like a good fit for you, then you could go there. But if you feel like that, like you said, Atiola's or down at Malcolm X Park is a better fit for your art medium and the possibility of interaction with community members, then propose one of those places.
Okay, and then you can now, what I also heard was something, if you were doing something virtual, then you're looking at the 6-month span. But if you're looking at something that's physical, then you're picking one of those time frames that you had listed. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
And those can be physical gatherings that might be out in the park, because I think was Clara Muhammad out there too. I think that was on the
Mm-hmm.
list too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you could do something in a outdoor venue. We just have to be in line with whatever COVID is when we get to that time frame in
Yeah.
life.
Absolutely. And we'll just say that, we are under no, like, we know that things are continuously changing. So, something in your proposal to us, we're not going to hold you to the fact that suddenly something has really changed about the health recommendations from the city by the time we get to that, to your partnership program months. And so then it's just about how can we evolve with those recommendations, to make sure that we are being as safe as possible and also able to execute the project that you've proposed. So just know that if something changes in the time that we've decided to move forward in the project before it starts, like we're gonna, it's a conversation. We have to all just be agile and flexible.
Okay, and then lastly, or at least next, is what is the timeline for your for the process? Like the deadline is, y'all said now March the 5th or 4th, somewhere near. What's the timeline for how long it will take for you to get back to people, for them to know, and then, be able to implement? Because it's not a whole lot of time maybe to do a lot of engaging with the particular business entity, one. And then inside of that, I know that it was a pretty good list of what you were looking at as artists. So in writing, I'm assuming that the writing piece could be that you either engage community in writing, or if it's music, that you're maybe engaging the community in whatever musical offering that may happen at those sites. I just want to make sure I have an understanding.
Yeah, I think you're on the mark there.
Do you have the dates, Tanara?
I'm pulling them up right now.
Okay, so well, as Tanara is pulling up the dates, I'll answer the less precise and exact question. Um, and I lost it. So you're asking about the dates. Oh, so we did consider about the time that it would take to essentially build a relationship and build rapport with the business and the business owners. So each partnership will also have essentially a couple of weeks built in for onboarding, for lack of a better word. So that would look
Mm-hmm.
like any clearances that you would need to get from PEC for working with the community, as far as like your FBI clearances and child abuse clearances. That will also look like giving you time to build a relationship with restaurants, and also giving you time to essentially strategize on what your engagement looks like. And then there's a time frame where the partnership officially starts and
Mhm.
continues.
But that's a good point. I mean, I would advise all the artists on this call to refrain from pitching to us a proposal that takes a year and a half of outreach work that is condensed into like a 3-month period, right? Like you need to make sure that what you're talking about is actionable, and community engagement, community outreach, whatever word you want to use, it takes time. Relationship building takes time. So that's kind of where the social impact comes in. The idea is that social impacts artists use the creative process as a way of building relationships in the community, and so that's what we really are encouraging people to think about, is embedding that process into the art project itself.
and
To
and also with the intention on identifying like third places really gives the opportunity to have a less, I would say, like less challenging community engagement
it's a starting point.
because these are already places where people are.
Right.
So the
Mm-hmm.
work that you're creating or the process or whatever, like the goal is that you are engaging with a place and with people that are already going to be there.
Right. Yeah. And that's why, real quick before I answer your question about dates, that's why if you are proposing a project with a site that you already have a relationship with, you should know that some of the criteria that we are using to judge whether a site is appropriate for this project or not has a lot to do with the traffic there, like who's coming there and how many people, and also like what the capacity is for that site to be able to support a project like this. Because we want the sites to be a space where there's engagement so that it makes it a little bit more actionable for you as the artists to be able to implement the project. Pamela, to your question about dates, our hope, this is like what we're striving for, is that we give the third places at least 2 weeks to look over your proposals, because we're expecting to get very, very many. And so we want everybody to have enough time to read through them. So our intention is to be reaching out with like yeses or nos or invitations for further conversation the week of April 22nd. That is our goal. That could change. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that could change. So I say that to say that if you don't hear from us after you put your proposal forth, you feel like you haven't heard from us in a couple weeks, it's not necessarily because we are leaving you high and dry. It could be because we are, navigating and making sure that all of these places have the access to your proposal, and then we're getting them all on the same page. But we are going to be in touch.
Tanara, March 22nd?
So,
April 22nd. Did I say March?
April? No, you said April. I'm just asking. April felt late. April 22nd.
You're right. It's March 22nd. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I wrote it down.
Zane said, "Uh-oh."
Uh-oh. Thanks, Zane. You're right. They're due March 5th. We give the places 2 weeks to review your proposals. And our goal is that we have this big convening with everybody and we talk about the proposals that we're moving forward with. And then we're going to respond to your guys' requests the week of March 22nd. Thanks for the correction.
now, when you say the third place to have time to look at it, so if we just go with what's on your list, right? And if 10 people pick Silk 10, then Silk 10 is looking over those proposals in combination with y'all. I didn't understand that.
The places are looking over every single proposal that is submitted, because we want to make sure that they're all part of this community panel that is going to be choosing the projects to move forward with. So,
okay, so they're not choosing necessarily it based on where it's located, but choosing the content of the proposal irregardless. So then that means, so if somebody has a third party that's not on your list, then how does that process happen? And when does it have to happen by so that they get in your loop? Like if I wanted to do Atiola and she's not on your list,
then if you know that if you're proposing a third place, that's just a part of your proposal. So any place that you propose isn't necessarily going to be on that community panel. Because we already have them and we have a panel to help us review. But again, feel free to propose it as a part of your proposal.
Yeah, and part of the process of us adjudicating the proposal, if you proposed your own third place, is to look at that place, do research, make a connection to actually see if it's appropriate for this partnership, because like I said, if you're proposing something to happen in a theater, that wouldn't work because we can't bring people into that space right now. But you can think about this third places panel as like a community group that is looking over these proposals, because they are aware that it may end up that they have decided they want to be part of this process, but that actually the proposals that we move forward with don't actually fit for their business. And so they're aware that they may be helping to decide that they're not going to be paired with an artist. So you can think about them as opportunities for partnership, but you can also think of them as a community panel that's reviewing the proposals.
Okay, I think you just answered my other question. I was getting ready to ask because I was looking at potential conflict of interest, with regards to the people on the panel being all the same people that are the recipients, or whether it was a separate body of people. Okay.
One big happy family. Are there any other questions?
Yes. I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So good evening, everyone. How y'all doing? So as far as proposing the third space, that will be a part of our proposal, and then you all would take the steps to reach out to that third space to identify if it's. I just want to clarify if it's a good fit for what it is we're proposing.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
But I mean, I would encourage that if you're proposing a third space, that it's a space that you already have a relationship with.
Copy that.
Yeah. I think that just highlights the element of this project that is about partnership.
Yes. So for further clarity, like if you're proposing a space, please do the due diligence and having a conversation with that place that you intend to propose a partnership that
Like
looks
they'll
like.
know about it.
Right.
Okay. And also, when we are filling out the application, are we able to choose more than one site location that we think could be a good fit, or do we have to just choose one?
That's such a good question. I don't think that we've talked about that yet. This is why these sessions
Because
are
it
so
does,
important, because we get
it
questions
gives
that
you
we
the
haven't talked
option
about.
to select more than one.
Yeah,
Oh,
totally.
sorry.
No, this is great. I would say,
The answer is yes, Tanar.
yeah.
Because
Oh, the answer is
yes.
yes.
Because it gives you the option to choose more than one.
Great,
I
then
set that
that's
up
the
like
way
that.
to serve. Yeah, because
Okay.
that works perfectly. Mostly because then we also are reiterating that these sites are going to be adjudicating based on this like community panel, so they know that they may not get a partnership with an artist. So yes, Latiana is correct that it is. You can propose multiple sites that are on that list.
Okay. And
Well,
then my last question is, what if a particular site will want to partner with two artists for one site? Is that possible? Just because the parks are attractive for certain activities, and there are two parks listed. So just saying, if there's an opportunity for two artists to offer their projects at one site, is that possible?
See, this is the
So
question.
no, I'm trying to figure out how to answer, because I was about to say, so we want the love to be spread. Let's put it that way. So we would like to see that there are not sites necessarily duplicated with multiple artists, because we want to reach as many people as possible. So let's say if everybody chose, let's say Malcolm X Park, because I feel like I keep hearing Malcolm X Park, then that doesn't meet the intention of the project to be reaching community members and have as many community members as possible being able to have these creative experiences. So no.
And we like be open. If if you're proposing a project that we think actually is with this park, but there's like 18 other proposals for that park, we may want to reach out to you and say, hey, we really like your proposal, would you consider partnering with this other site? So we're putting
Okay.
that out there because that could happen, and it would be amazing if the projects that are proposed are agile enough that they could be adjusted for a different site. And the goal is an amazing project that engages with a lot of people, so we're hoping that you all will be as flexible as we might be.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Gwenny, you had a
and I had,
question. And oh man, okay, let's do Gwenny, and then Pamela, you had another question.
mhm.
Yeah. So my question was, the businesses that were listed on the email that we got, they are aware of this project already, correct?
Correct. Yes, they've opted in.
And so what are they expecting?
Out of the project?
Yeah, they're expecting for there to be a flow of people who would come on their premises. They're okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, most of these places are businesses or they're parks, they're public spaces. So they know that by participating in this partnership program, that there may be an increase in patrons or customers. Yes, so they are aware.
Oh,
Pamela, let's go to you, and then if anybody else has a question, I want to make sure that we can answer that.
Oh, I had two kind of. One was, is there a advertising component that you all are connected to that kind of connects the umbrella of everything? Because it's how many of them is it in
5.
total? 15? 5.
Sorry, it's
How,
5 partnerships opportunities, but there are 10. I believe the current number is 10 third places that are going to be reviewing these proposals, but it's a total
okay,
of 5 artists.
to end up with 5 artists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I had it. That was part of my question, was to find out if there was advertisement around when that's going to be, or what the final selections are and when they're going to be, so that it's a full community engagement. That was one. And to ask kind of like, what are some of the in expectations from having done this?
Such good questions. The first one, I will say that there is an intention to publicize this program, and that we're hoping to be able to make a big announcement about all 5 artists. There is going to be like virtual, and then when the weather gets better and as recommendations change, like outdoor socially distanced events, where the artists get to show off the work that they have done, and and the partnerships that they have built. So I hope that answers your question about advertisement. Now, to speak more philosophically to your other question about what our sort of end goals are, this is a strategy to be able to reach some of our partnership goals, which is to provide and make space for artistic and creative opportunities in West Philadelphia that pair residents and artists together, so that residents feel like they have ownership and agency over the creative process. Like that is some of the goals of Barnes West. That happens through a program like this, where we're putting artists in partnership with community venues. It also happens at the sort of artistic events that are going to continue to be scheduled and presented, that sort of look more like what Barnes at Lola 38 used to be. And then there may be other emerging opportunities where you might see Barnes West in the neighborhood doing something that's more pop-up, that is definitely still open. But all of these different programs are all initiatives for the same goal. So does that answer your second question, Pamela?
Yes.
Great.
And then that was all one question that y'all answered. The other part of the question is, and I've just kind of lost it, with the proposal, is there, because I don't know if what I looked at when I clicked was actually taking me through the proposal. Is there a page limit? Is there a format that you have
So
that needs to follow?
so the attachment to that email had the RFP in it, and there's a link that takes you to the application, and the application is essentially the proposal that you are making, and the application has a few questions that includes share your proposed idea. In addition to the application form that's on the link, we provide instructions in the RFP on sending us samples of your work. And that could look like photos or videos. And there's a limit to what those work samples are.
Yeah, I advise everybody to look really carefully through the RFP. I know it's kind of a big document, but all of the information that you're going to need is in there, including the criteria that the third places are getting that they will have in order to evaluate these proposals. So that's all in the RFP, but the application link that you have, Pamela, that is how that you're going to propose this project to us. There's no like additional thing. There's no other like form or platform that you're going to be using to get it to us.
Okay, so what I must not have seen was the RFP. You said that there was something attached.
Yes.
We can send it to you again if you need.
Okay.
I want to make sure
as
that
well as letting us know how we will get a copy of this to be able to share with whomever else we were looking at, in partnership with as being the artist, because I wouldn't want to be able to have to try to explain to them all of what's being answered and talked about. So how would we access the video to share with the other artists that might not be able to be on this call right now?
You go ahead, Lefty. I think we're going to say the same thing.
The link will be on the web page, but as far as sharing additional information, whether that looks like sharing with artists or sharing with a place that you might propose, you could share the RFP that's attached to the email, or you can direct people to the website, and the website will have all of the information that they need. If someone has additional questions, then they are welcome to send an email to lola38west@gmail. But everything will be available, or is available, on the website and within the RFP.
Yeah, and I just put the website in the chat. So
okay, so on this link that I see on the chat now is
yes,
where I will be able to find this recording and say, watch this after you read the video. After you read this link I'm sending you, read this. That way you can hear all of the questions that got generated and the answers.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
We are at 6:45. If there's any other burning questions that you all have, let's take them now. Karen, your little pointer finger is raised. I want to make sure that you get a chance to ask it. And Ellen. Karen and then Ellen.
Just curious, in the proposal, can you put if you are more than one person, more than one artist performing with you?
Yes, good question. Yeah, collectives, artist collectives can make a one proposal together. That is true. Ellen, you're muted.
You know, I forgot my question just that quick. It's a good one too. It's been a long day of Zooms.
I believe it.
Oh, how do I apply to set up an appointment for office hours?
You're gonna email Lola.
You just email me.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks, ladies.
No problem.
Yeah, I encourage everybody, particularly as you're sort of thinking about the specifics of your proposal, to just keep a list of questions you want to ask us and then go to the open office hours. But again, email lola38@gmail to reserve a spot for those open office hours, because we want to make sure that we have a plan for that 2-hour block.
Now, is the office hours listed? Did we say, I know that it's Wednesday, but did we say from what time to what time?
We
Or
haven't
Wednesday?
split up the block in the RFP, but please just email us and let us know, when in that 2-hour block you're available to meet. We may ask you to shift around based on other people, reserving a spot with us, but just email us and we can work it out.
Janara, real quick.
Yes.
What's it, 10 to 12?
10 to 12
Yes.
on Wednesday.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to make sure that we don't zoom out anymore because my eyes are screaming, So thank you all so much for coming tonight. I really appreciate being able to see all of you, even if it's virtually. And again, we can't stress enough, open office hours. If there are any more in-depth questions, let's talk in open office hours.
And the open office hours blocks are 15 minutes. So when you're proposing it, propose like a 15-minute block.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone.
All
Thank
right,
you.
everybody. Have a good night. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
for this
Thank
you.
opportunity.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a good
Bye-bye.
night.